Good morning once again to everybody. Alright, let's continue with our study on the Satipatthana Sutta, or the 4 focuses of mindfulness. Today we are on page 68. We are still with volume SD 13.1. That is, this is the introduction, the feelings, and the sutta itself is 13.3 actually. 13.2 is Satipatthana Sutta. Everything is in one volume. Satipatthana is a very important term in meditation. We are talking about stages of meditative progress, if you like. So once again, a quick summary. You can see the diagram behind me. The 4 focuses on mindfulness, as sometimes Satipatthana is translated, or Chaptu Satipatthana. Number 1, there is what's called Kaya Nupassana, reflection or contemplation on the body. Contemplation on the body. We begin with what's called body-based meditation. Then, number 2, there is feeling-based meditation, Vedana Nupassana, or contemplation on feelings. And then number 3, we have Citta Nupassana, contemplation on the mind, or mind-based meditation. And then the last one is Dharma Nupassana. The word Dharma is a bit tricky here, but we can translate Dharma as phenomena, mental contents, even realities, if you like. So this is one safe way we kind of borrow the anglicized Sanskrit term Dharma. Dharma-based meditation, right? Now, when we study about meditation, one important thing to remember to benefit ourselves is not to get too worried about technical aspects. Technical aspects are very interesting for discussion, yes. But once you start meditating, you have to let go of all these ideas. So what we are studying actually is like learning to drive. You learn all the basic things so that you know how to drive. So we're studying this kind of text before us, how to meditate. And remember, these are not easy to get, this kind of teachings. You want discussion, you just go online, there's so many discussions, or even there are discussion groups, and so on, or courses even in the universities. In a sense, we can say this is an experiential study. Experiential study, that means what I'm teaching you is based on my own experience of meditation. Of course, on the suttas, from a sutta perspective, and also the traditions of other practitioners. So it's like a 3-dimensional approach. So this kind of teaching is useful because we're talking from an experience point of view, not just academic or theoretical. And I'm sure all of you, or at least most of you, do some kind of meditation. So that we can ask ourselves basic questions. How do we meditate? We begin by calming the body first, right? That's why number 1 is body-based meditation. Body-based meditation means we calm the senses first. This is why we close our eyes, we sit quietly, right? And we reflect on the nature of the body so that we are not distracted by it, right? Body-based meditation. Another aspect of body-based meditation is you prepare yourself through the practice of the precepts. The precepts are something like quality control. It gives our life some kind of quality so that we don't have to deal with too many problems, right? Which come through the 5 senses in terms of meditation. So keeping the precepts, keeping our bodies calm, is to prepare ourselves for this inner calmness. In other words, we've got to deal with feelings, and we've got to deal with emotions, right? So these are the 2 key ideas we are going to study today. In a sense, you can say meditation on feelings or contemplation on feeling, that's number 2, deals with how we evaluate our experiences, whether we see them as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Right? What we perceive as pleasant, we tend to like. we want more of it. There is the craving. Right? So once you have this kind of reaction, then you reinforce that craving. In other words, once you get angry, you are likely to get angry again, something like that. Okay? And if you see something as not desirable, you don't like it. Right? Now, how do we know something is desirable or not desirable? It's subjective. Subjective means you make it so. And how do we make it so? By relating it to past experiences. So, in other words, we are past-oriented. We are living in the past. And if we do too much of that, then, we won't be present before people. We are distant from people. So living in the present means you are aware of what's going on in your mind and before you, the other person, or the situation around you. So this feeling, it's good to understand the nature of feeling. This is what we're going through in detail in a moment. Then there are emotions. In Buddhism, feelings and emotions are clearly defined. Even up to now, you find, even modern psychology, they're still not very certain what feelings and emotions are. And I can tell you, with a great amount of certainty, they are learning a lot from Buddhism. And you can find the new encyclopedias and dictionaries on psychology are becoming more defined, more definite in their definition of feeling and emotions. So, as I said, when we talk about emotions in early Buddhism, we're talking about three kinds of feelings, okay? Pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, neutral feelings. Later on, you find there are other aspects of these three feelings. And then, what about emotions? Emotions here will be covered by Cittanupassana, number 3, mind-based meditation. In other words, when you look to the mind, what do you see? You see emotions. You see happiness, sadness, anger, and so on, right? So this is, you see distraction, things like that. So this is the third one we're going to look at. If there's time, we'll look at today also. Yeah? And then the last one, Dhammanupassana, realities. So when your mind is very calm, you begin to experience the nature of the mind itself, impermanence, suffering, non-self, things like that. So this is the fourth focus of mindfulness. All right? Here's a quick summary. Now let's look at the sutta itself so that we know what we're studying. And then I'll give you my own commentary. The sutta itself is on, let me see, page 133. 133, okay? Remember, we are studying M10. We're studying Satipatthana Sutta from the Majjhima. And this text also is found in the Digha Nikaya version, which is SD 13.2. The Digha Nikaya is D22. Okay, look at observing feelings, section B, section 32. And how bhikshus are the monks, does a monk dwell observing feelings in the feelings? Notice, the meditation language is very technical. But here when you say technical, it means they are to the point, so that we know what we're doing. The language has to be very clear, very exact. Well, maybe not very clear, but definitely technical. Why? Technical means you have to get your living transmission from a living teacher. This can be easy if you're lucky, you get a good teacher come to tell you. Sometimes you listen to one teacher, you get it, And I'm fortunate in the sense that I always like to ask a lot of questions from every teacher I meet. And whatever they say or don't say helps me a lot to understand the suttas better. Very often, what they say, I can relate back to the sutta. Remember, whatever questions you ask from a meditation teacher or Dhamma teacher, you don't have to agree with them. You don't have to say you are wrong, because we could be wrong anyway. The important thing is just listen, okay, this is how this person says it, this is how this teacher says it, and then look at the suttas, put it all together. So this is how the Buddha tells us to put our learning together. Everybody has something to say, and not all teachers agree. Sometimes their disagreement is only on a word level. Some teachers may say, oh, you don't do metta. And the teachers say, oh, metta is very important. It doesn't mean the first teacher is saying that metta is not taught by the Buddha. Probably has some other reasons, right? And there are people who might tell you, oh, jhana, you do jhana, you get attached to it, right? And then the teacher will say, if you get attachment, you can get jhana and so on. So you find this kind of crosstalk, and what appears to be crosstalk in meditation. So this is where I say that we can use a computer model of the operating system, OS. So different teachers have different OS, different operating systems. So don't worry, don't get upset. Say, how come one teacher say this and teacher say that? Buddhism is like that. Everybody is free to speak what they want, and you are free to listen, and above all, you are free to choose, and to choose wisely. How do you choose wisely in meditation? When you practice it, you find it works, very peaceful. That's the one, use it. Choose the simplest method you can get and build it up. So once you get that experience of meditation, whatever other meditation you learn from any tradition, not necessarily Buddhist, you more or less know what's happening and you know whether it works or not. So sometimes we try to learn 2 minutes at one time, and in the end we don't grasp anything at all. So my advice is learn the simplest, master it as much as possible, so you understand the language of meditation, you understand the experience of meditation, you understand what meditation is not, you understand the dangers of meditation. All these are mentioned, or at least much of this are mentioned in this book called Meditation the Safety Guide. Then once you have this basic idea, it's very easy to learn from any teacher. And you begin to know what you need, what you don't need. Yeah? And this is really wonderful. You see, for example, in the mining center, we get people new to Buddhism, new to meditation, coming from all parts of the world. And once you start meditating, you can see that we all are doing the same thing. And everybody has distraction. That's the international language, distraction. and they come out of that. And then you find that, wow, they really love that peace of mind. That's another beautiful language, international language of peace. So the idea is get that base of meditation. Then you can easily understand and appreciate any other kind of meditation and choose the best. So feeling in feelings means you direct your mind watching these feelings and keep it there, not letting it run around through any other senses. Definitely not through the 5 physical senses, right? The mind can also get distracted by the mind itself, by thinking of other past thoughts. So here, feeling in feelings, the mind is using itself as an instrument and is focused on feelings. So, what do? Notice the word here. So these are all tags. You notice here, that means either the Buddha means in his teaching, in this world, or in this case, here in the practice of meditation. This is what you do. Here, bhikshus, a monk, feeling a pleasant feeling, understands. I feel a pleasant feeling. Now, in English, we have 5 words here. In Pali, it's probably a couple of words only. Yeah, I feel a pleasant feeling. So that's why I give a square brackets there, alternate translation, pleasant feeling, or simply pleasant. So you know a pleasant feeling as pleasant. Feeling a painful feeling, he understands, I feel a painful feeling, or pain. If you go for Vipassana retreats, they like to tell you, observe pain as pain, right? This is where they get it from, okay? Feeling a neutral feeling, he understands, I feel a neutral feeling, or simply not as neutral feeling. Here we have a problem. In the sutta, everything is neatly laid out for you. But it doesn't happen in real meditation. You don't, while you're meditating, say neutral feeling, but you won't know it. Neutral feeling is something you don't recognize during the meditation. Neutral feeling is only known after the fact. This is something interesting. So how do we know it's a neutral feeling? It's neither pleasant nor unpleasant. What happens in an unskilled meditator is when neutral feeling does arise, we tend to feel bored. because there's nothing to observe. You feel bored. So that is why in the suttas we are taught what to do. To cut the long story short, reflect all of them as impermanent. That's how you keep awake. Pleasant feeling arises, you can say pleasant feeling. You can also reflect impermanent. How do we do that? It's mentioned in the refrain, right? Remember, you look at 31, the refrain tells you, in the middle it says, you dwell, observe the states that pass away in the feeling that arise, feeling that passes away, feeling that arise and pass away. Okay? This passage actually is next page. We'll come to it in a while. So as long as you observe impermanence, you are safe. Yeah? When you notice there is neither pleasant feeling nor unpleasant feeling, regard that neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling as neutral. That is why in the suttas, they don't use the word neutral. Actually, in the suttas, the word, to be more technical, you can see the Pali word, note 66. Adukkam masukkam vedanam. Yeah, I should have translated this for you. Neither painful nor pleasant feeling. Neither painful nor pleasant. They don't use the word neutral. Because we can't recognize it, you see. We only know it's neither painful nor pleasant. So we regard it as impermanent, then you are safe. Why? Because our mind is a concept to keep awake. Without concept, we get bored. Because we are not attain focus of mind, jhana, this wonderful, joyful state yet. Right? So, we reflect on these three kinds of feelings. Coming one more point about neutral feeling. So, after that fact, that means during the review period, when you come up with your meditation, for example, and then you look back and say, okay, just now I had this situation where it's neither pleasant feeling nor painful feeling. Therefore, it is neutral feeling. You reflect like that, yeah? Then you have one more interesting point. You can see also in the diagram behind me. We have three kinds of feelings which are for the body. The bodily feeling can be pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, right? For example, I'm sitting here very comfortable, pleasant feeling. When I sit too long here after 3 hours of talking, I say, wow, this is tiring. Huh? Pleasant, the bodily unpleasant feeling. Somewhere in between, maybe I'm just sitting here and I finish my talk, neutral feeling, physical, right? So you have three, right? Then you have mental state, mental level. Mental also you have three. Mental, pleasant, mental, unpleasant, mental, neutral. Okay? So according to suttas, you have 6. But the Abhidhamma, want to be a bit more technical and exact, is actually 3 plus 3 equals 5, not 6. 3 feelings of body, 3 feelings of mind, you add them together, you get only 5. How did I get 5? Pleasant of body, pleasant of mind, unpleasant of body, unpleasant of mind. Neutral comes 1 only. Because neutral, you don't experience anything, so in a sense. Right? So this is Abhidhamma thinking, right? But in Sutta, I will just say 3 plus 3, 6. So it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. The important thing is, in a Sutta class like this, it's interesting to know this.
The footnote is mental only, so that's Abhidhamma.
Correct, yeah. It's Abhidhamma tradition, yeah. But in a sense, Abhidhamma are right. It's not saying that they're wrong. It's just that there are 2 ways of looking at the situation. So if you look at the Vibhanga is one of the most important Abhidhamma books, one of the most useful of the Abhidhamma books. It's like a commentary on the suttas. In their description, they will say Sutta explanation, Abhidhamma explanation. So there are 2 explanations. So whichever helps you to understand, you use it. There's no quarrel about the traditions there, in other words. Then something else develops. Notice, so this is section brackets 1 here, round bracket 1. This is very simple, 3 kinds of feelings. And then number 2, you go a little different. Feeling a pleasant sensual feeling or carnal feeling, he understands. I feel a pleasant sensual feeling. In very simple terms, this is feeling of the body. Okay? Feeling a pleasant non-sensual or spiritual feeling, he understands. I feel a pleasant non-sensual or simply non-sensual feeling. pleasant non-sensual feeling. Okay? That means this is of the mind. Okay? So this is where, is it of body? Is it of mind? So just note it accordingly, in other words. Of course, all this happens naturally quite fast in your meditation. Okay? Of course, when you're noting all these things, you're not yet fully focused. You are focused, but not yet attained jhana, not yet 100% focus. Okay? Brackets 3. Feeling a painful sensual feeling, he understands I feel a painful sensual feeling. Feeling a painful non-sensual feeling, he understands I feel a painful non-sensual feeling. So, unpleasant or painful body feeling, mental feeling. Again, two kinds. Yeah. And then number 4, feeling a neutral sensual feeling, he understands I feel a neutral sensual feeling. And then next one, last one, feeling a neutral non-sensual feeling, he understands I feel a neutral non-sensual feeling. So notice number 4, there are also two kinds, right? Neutral of body, neutral of mind. So in the sutta way of counting, you have 3 feelings of body, 3 feelings of mind. By Abhidhamma, they say when you total them up, there are only 5. Okay, so this is just an interesting technicality. Any questions on the sutta passage? Quite clear enough, yeah? And then the refrain. Notice the refrain is repeated after each section. But the section of feeling is very short, only one section. So what do we do now? What do we practice? How do we practice watching feelings? Section 33. So he dwells observing feelings in the feeling internally. That means you watch it within yourself. Body or mind, whichever one, observe it. Now this is where therapy comes in, counseling comes in. When pain is concerned, probably it will be helpful to sportsmen, right? They feel pain, and we teach them, okay, just note pain in the body, pain, and just note it a few times, let it go, you find the pain will go away. Or watch the pain rising and falling, so just watch it. Right? And then someone comes to you with a problem, maybe they feel very sad or depressed, or they got some kind of psychological problem. They say, okay, confront your feeling, don't be afraid, face your feeling, and tell yourself, what is this feeling? Right? This feeling is impermanent, so that is mental painful feeling. So it's good to distinguish between these two kinds of feelings. So you find that Buddhist psychology is very helpful in that sense, and we have been using this for 2,500 years. So this is within yourself. So in other words, for example, let's say if I get both my legs cramped during meditation, which I do get occasionally, I notice at least once a year. Then I'll just sit there and say, okay, pain, and then just go on talking, I can't be reading on my Dharma seat, right? I just got to go on teaching, So I just observe the pain, let it go, teach. That's how we do it, right? Then, if I get negative emotions in my mind, I say, okay, identify what is this feeling, anger, okay? Watch it, let it go. Try not to dwell with it, right? So, this is internally. Or observing feelings in feelings externally, right? You see people suffering, then you note pain. This is pain. Look at people, how they suffer. And then, of course, you after that you got to help them. Don't just admire them as meditation objects. That'd be rather terrible. So, in other words, if you're a doctor, you're a healer, this ability is very important. This is a real empathy. You actually feel it, right? And then, of course, mental feelings are a bit difficult, but you can deduce from the looks of the person, the words of the person. And these are all very important skills in a counselor. So here you are, externally. No? Or observing feelings in the feeling both internally and externally. You cannot do both at the same time, so you kind of go back and forth, right? You notice while you're talking to people how you feel inside you. And then you notice how this other person feels, like that, back and forth, right? In a natural way. There's no exact way, you just alternate it the way you like it. So you're aware of what's going on, internally, externally. So you have three ways of reflecting care. You can use any one of them. In a sense, you're right if you say, in reality there's only number three, there's only internally, externally, both, right? In a sense. Yeah. Okay, so this first part is one set, then the second part, or he dwells observing states that arise in the feeling, or he dwells observing states that pass away in the feelings, or he dwells observing states that arise and pass away in the feelings. Here, it means you notice sometimes in your meditation you notice body pain arising, and then you forget about it. Okay? Or sometimes you might notice when you're meditating, this pain is very sharp, and then you feel it. You come out, you're jolted out of your meditation, as it were. You notice the pain subsiding. Okay? In other cases like numbness, pins and needles, you notice rise and fall like that. In fact, this rising and falling meditation is taught even to lay people. It is mentioned in the Discourse Sutta as the accomplishment in wisdom, right? So it's a meditation which anyone can do, not just monks. Right? Because sometimes we get scholars telling us that, layman meditating is a modern phenomenon. I was just reading this article this morning, actually. The scholars have a way of talking. But the thing is, they're not practitioners. So if they're not practitioners, you find that they usually miss the finer points. In fact, you can say, laymen have been meditating since the Buddha's time. And we have one of the most famous lay meditators, and he's called Chitta, the house lord. His Dharma is also very good. In fact, he attained streaming as a layman, and then I think he died as a non-returner. So even laymen attain very high levels of training. Now, one thing I must tell you, in the case of Chitta, you might say today he would be someone in the upper class, someone leisurely class, if you like. So he has the time, he has the money, so he could, meditate and so on. So in other words, if we have all this good karma of wealth and retirement even, it's a good opportunity to master the Dharma. And of course, there are others also who live very difficult lives. They also attain the same kinds of awakening. But Chitta is the very special layman who is the wisest of the lay teachers. In fact, he's so wise even the monks sometimes consult him. And then the closing three lines. Or else he maintains the mindfulness that there is feeling. There is feeling. Atti Vedana. You see, Atti Vedana translate there is feeling. Atti means there is. Or you can just say feeling. Merely for knowing and awareness. Why merely that? Don't think about it. Don't analyze it more than what it is. Merely for knowing. You know there is feeling. That's it. And you are aware of it. And that word is pati sanvedeti. It's an important word. Today we have a big whiteboard. I'm going to write on it. Pati sanvedeti is a very important Pali word in terms of meditation and Buddhist psychology. Pati sanvedeti is often translated as experience. He experiences. It's a verb. You can also translate it as he feels, depending on the context. Even he knows, although he knows is too restrictive. In other words, this he feels has got this idea of a direct experience as well as knowing. Okay? Of course, if you know psychology, social psychology or learning, you have various other terms you can talk about this very interesting word. For meditation, Patisanvedeti is an important word. Why? Now let's analyze this word into its parts. First of all, you have the prefix pati. Pati in English would be something like counter. In other words, you go against the current, against distractions. You try to push away distractions. San is like the English prefix, actually it's more Latin prefix, con or com. Con or com shows bringing together. So here, focusing, okay? Focusing. So you have this like interactive thing and you have this focusing kind of action. And then the root is wit. From wit you get English words like wit, W-I-T, to do with knowledge. So here the stem is wed. From wed you get vedeti, he knows. So to know, okay? To know by way of pushing away distractions and focusing your mind on something. See, in English I've got to use so many words, but in Pali just one, pati, sang, vedeti. And the infix A meaning the letter E, in my understanding here, means it should be a kind of passive action. Maybe passive is not a good word, rather like spontaneous. You do not have to think about it, but you are there, focused, watching, right? Usually the infix A means a kind of is done for you, passive or causative. And then the T at the end, or a T as they sometimes say, shows the third person singular. Okay, he feels, he experiences. In English, a good way to explain the word is to experience directly, to feel directly. That's what we do in meditation. What does it mean, feel directly? That means we do not use the medium of concepts, ideas, words, language. Direct experience. And this is a very important experience in our daily life. While we use concepts to convey, discuss, discern, analyze truth, we use feelings to express beauty. Because if you do not do that, you will not experience beauty. And beauty is a very important aspect of our life. So direct experience. Why do we have the humanities, literature, music, dances, painting, and so on? Because the humanities did tell you that there are certain things which are the real good things in life are immeasurable. Science measures. No measurement, no science. Right? So those are the sciences. They measure things, which is of course good, that you build things and so on. But a very important aspect of our lives cannot be measured. Love, sickness, things like that, especially mental-based actions. Feelings. How do you measure beauty? You can't measure beauty, right? So in meditation, we train ourselves to feel directly what's going on before us. Of course, not easy. Take breath meditation, for example. At first, you use concepts. Short breath, long breath, in breath, out breath, spaces between the breath. We use concepts. We watch the breath. We count the breaths even, in out one, in out two, and so on. Why? To push away distractions. We use thoughts to push away other thoughts. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the parable there is like you use a nail to knock out another nail. Okay? And then when the mind is more calm, you just watch the breath silently. Then you feel joyful. So, oh, this is good. You feel joyful. You don't say anything, just feel joyful. And then the third stage is you feel so good, you can't even say it's joyful. So wonderful. Your knowing as occurs in daily life stops functioning. How do we know things? We know things to our five senses. Whatever we know are either through the eye, shapes and forms, light, to the ear by sounds, vibrations, nose to smell, taste, touch. That's how we know things, 5 kinds of knowledges. Of course, the 6th one is thinking, right? So here is where, when you feel very joyful, these 5 senses stop functioning. I'm talking about meditative joy. Your mind experiences itself fully. The mind begins to know itself. This is where we come to the third one, the observing the mind, which is the next one. We'll come to a little later. So once you experience the mind directly without any other distraction, without the intervention of the five senses, five physical senses, without intervention of the body, mind as mind is truly joyful. How shall I say it? It's like you're a cloud, beautiful white cloud floating in a clear blue sky. Happy, joyful, just like that, without any thoughts. And then you come back into the real world, thoughts come back, you talk about it, because we need concepts, language to talk about these things. Now when you experience it this way, direct experience of joy and peace and truth, something happens to you. You become very happy. And if you become very happy, you are not troubled by the world. You are just happy. And if you're really happy, you're more useful. You can help people, you can talk to them, you can do things more effectively. Right? You can even work very well. So that's the meaning of the second last line. And he dwells independent, not clinging to anything in the world. Not clinging to anything in the world, meaning he's not troubled by the five senses. The five senses actually serve him. Right? Otherwise, we're all the time reacting to our five senses. We see something, we jump at it. We hear something, we jump at it, and so on. But here, whatever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, good enough. Very good, very joyful to us. And that bhikshus is how a monk dwells observing feelings and feelings. Okay, so this kind. Very interesting description here. Now there are some other details you can look at, which is just now I pointed out to you. Page 68, there are some extra points here if you like. For example, here, carnal feelings refer to experiences of the body, but spiritual talks about jhanas already, especially first two jhana, spiritual. Neutral feeling refers to the fourth jhana. And this is on page 69, right at the top. Okay? When you hear me teaching some of these things or read passages from various commentators and the suttas, you sometimes say, oh dear, this is difficult, how to understand this? Don't worry, just leave it like that for a while. You go on with your meditation, and after a while, once a year, once in 5 years, come back and read the passage again. And one day you say, oh, now I understand this. This is what these kind of passages are for. It's not for you to have a comprehension study of it. In a way, it's to help you measure your own experience of meditation. So as your meditation matures, read the same passage again, and the suttas become clearer. So what you read 10 years ago, what I read 30 years ago is very different from what I read today. So that's why the suttas are classics. We don't revise the suttas. They are meant to help us gauge, train ourselves in our meditation, and then gauge our progress in meditation also. And they're also the tools for us to share our joy and peace with others, and our wisdom also with others. Okay, now let's look at the third one, Cittanupassana. So let's go back to page 133. Actually it is 134, okay? And how bhikshus, I'm reading section 34, and how bhikshus does a monk dwell observing the mind in the mind? Here bhikshus, a monk understands a lustful mind as lustful mind. He understands a lust-free mind as lust-free mind. Now notice the wording here is very important. What the passage is trying to tell us is that these emotions do arise. Lustful means attracted to something and not knowing why, and having no control about it. Look at next one, brackets 2. Or he understands a hating mind as hating mind. He understands a hate-free mind as hate-free mind. Look at number 3. Or he understands a deluded mind as deluded mind. He understands an undeluded mind as undeluded mind. So this word is repeated because it's a mental noting. Okay, these are the 3 roots, the 3 unwholesome roots: greed, hate, delusion. So here is where whatever emotions arise in our mind while we're meditating, or even outside of meditation, just acknowledge it. Acknowledge it as it is. Don't get upset about it. Don't get elated with it. Observe it for what it is. That's the meaning. This is the first noble truth. Accepting the truth as it is. Okay? And then later, as you go older, you look back, you say, oh yeah, okay, when I was young I felt this, now I'm different, I feel this. Okay? So you see this desire arising, be aware of it. And you also notice the desire going away, be aware of it. And you feel good when it goes away. Of these 3, hatred, number 2, anger is the easiest to watch. When it arises, if you acknowledge it, simply by acknowledging the emotion, you overcome it. In other words, it is something like name the devil and shame him, something like that. Eh? And you find this story occurring often in the suttas, especially meditators. Here you find a nun meditating, very pretty nun. She was a pretty young girl, she became a nun meditating. Mara appears to her and says, why are you sitting here all alone? You're a pretty girl. Are you not afraid something terrible might happen to you? So this mind is talking. Then this nun is very wise. She has this soliloquy. She says, I know you, Mara. You're just trying to distract me from my meditation. Okay? And Mara says, oh, she knows me. And then zap, she disappears. So Mara is conquered through knowing, not through fear. Another case, another nun meditating, I suppose this nun is a bit of a philosopher nun. Mara appears and says, now, where did this body come from? Who created this body? So you have this nun is meditating, all these thoughts going through her mind. And then she says, Mara, I know you're trying to confuse me. You know very well this body didn't come anywhere. This body arose from conditions, So Mara says, she knows me. Mara disappears. That's how Mara normally appears to the nuns. To monks, a little bit more dramatic. Monks meditating, suddenly everything went dark and black. Frightening. So this poor monk got terrified, ran to the Buddha and said, what do I do? Another one, there's a sound of big, loud sound, very frightening sound, like the earth was breaking apart, like some earthquake. Then he goes to the Buddha. The Buddha says, monk, don't worry. This is Mara trying to distract you from your meditation. So this is a very easy way to kind of deal with the situation. So Mara here is a personification of a bad karma, if you like. So in meditation, just say yourself, okay, this is Mara. Or another way is mind-made. And once you say it's mind-made, you nail it down, you don't turn into it, you don't get caught up in the discursive rut. Otherwise you start thinking, what's going on here, then you can't meditate. So these are devices of letting go of all these distractions. And this also helps you to keep calm, right? You don't become reactive, So in other words, someone is talking to you and tells you some nasty thing, your presence of mind, and then you don't get caught up in a negative emotion. This needs training, of course, but this is a theory first. And then of course, deluded mind is a bit tricky. You might not know you are deluded. So but here, of course, as I said, after the fact. Again, after the fact. For example, after the events occurred, you look back and say, "Oh, I was deluded. I was cheated." And that is very helpful because that brings you wisdom. So when you acknowledge it for what it is, that is wisdom. The beginning of wisdom, definitely. Then further down, brackets 4 rather, he understands a narrow or constricted mind as narrow mind. He understands a distracted mind as distracted. Narrow, that means no loving kindness. Okay? Distracted. Number 5 is the positive one. Or he understands a great mind, exalted mind, as a great mind. He understands a small mind as a small mind, unexalted mind. This is all talking about jhana already, especially great mind, especially doing metta. It's mean all beings feel unhappy, feel good, that is a great mind. If you have hatred, that's called a small mind. You notice how this reflects in some of the languages, some of the expressions we use in our daily language, right? So don't have a small mind. Okay? So here you are. You can say this is the origin of that kind of saying, for the Buddhists anyway. 6. Or he understands a surpassable mind as surpassable mind. In other words, you can still go beyond, jhana-wise, or you can let go of the hindrances. You surpass that mind, you go higher. Or understands an unsurpassable mind as unsurpassable mind. For example, let's say you do metta, loving kindness, and then the last stage, the breaking the barriers, is to all beings. You feel so joyful. Nothing can surpass it. Number 7, he understands a concentrated mind as concentrated mind. He understands an unconcentrated mind as unconcentrated mind. There you are. You see, so if you are not concentrated, also you note it so. You say, distracted, I'm not concentrated. So note it as it is. Note it as it is. And in doing so, you gently calm your mind down. In other words, don't fret, don't get upset with it. Because if you get upset with it, then you are just making yourself more distracted. So this is a very simple device, strategy in meditation. Number 8. Or he understands a liberated mind as liberated mind. He understands an unliberated mind as unliberated mind. Liberated from defilements, at least temporarily. Liberated from pain, at least temporarily. Okay? So here you are. This is a very short passage on observing the mind.
Yeah.
Yes?
Never mind with the explanation, you say the mind that is narrow, compressed due to sloth and shelter.
Yeah. If you can relate it to some of the hindrances also, right? So a mind can be narrow because of, you can look at note 71, you're sleepy, tired, so the mind is heavy, difficult to move. It's called narrow mind. These are the commentaries, né? And then distracted mind, distracted by restlessness or remorse. Restlessness, remorse. Remorse means what? When we meditate, some memories of the past come back, right? Oh, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have done this. Some past thoughts come back, kind of, and shake us up a bit. They're just thoughts from the past, let them go. Or we think of the future, what should I do next? Oh, what should I write? What should I talk about in the talk and so on? You think about the future, then you want to jump into action. You're restless, right? Let go of the future. The past causes us to be remorseful, the future causes us to be excited, anxious. Okay? So let go of the past, let go of the future. And then when you're ready, let go of the present also. Then you get into jhana. And then, sorry? Any question? Then we come to the refrain again, Satipatthana refrain.
Sorry, what's concentrated mind?
That means the mind is focused, no more, all the,
Distraction.
all the hindrances are gone. You notice the breath there, the object there, nimitta, as a reason. Yeah. So, and then you get the Satipatthana refrain again. So he dwells observing the mind, internally, observe your own mind, and observe the mind in the mind externally. You can notice it in the other person. Now, this is not simple. So there's a bit of controversy here. Some teachers actually say it's not possible. But of course, in the advanced meditator who is psychic, they can do that. They can look at you, they can know. In fact, if you're a parent, you're a counselor, you're a meditation teacher, you can sense it while you're sitting down. You can hear some shuffling and so on. You can sense the crowd is not too. Especially if sitting too long, you can sense the heaviness. So we can, in a sense. So we just note it. We're not going to get flustered, but we just note it and calmly respond accordingly. Okay, so that's the training. Or observing the mind in the mind, both internally and externally. Then the next set is very important. Or he dwells observing states that arise in the mind, or he dwells observing states that pass away in the mind, or he dwells observing states that arise and pass away in the mind. So all these situations, they come, they go. Again, this is experience of impermanence. And then the last section, or else he maintains the mindfulness that there is a mind, ati citan, merely for knowing and awareness. This is the mind-made word, okay? Whatever you experience, if you find, wow, this is really wonderful, and then when thoughts come back, just say mind-made, mind-made. All these experiences, no matter how beautiful, they are mind-made. No matter how frightening they are, mind-made, okay? So this is where it comes from. And the benefit of this, he dwells independent, not clinging to anything in this world. And that bhikshu is how a monk dwells, observing the mind in the mind. So here the word monk, of course, refers to a meditator. Yeah? Then go back to page 70, you see the commentary on Cittanupassana on the mind. It is well known that the Buddha often used 3 words for the mind. Mano, Citta, Vijnana, right? When they're strung together like that, all the 3 used together, they all refer to the mind. Of course, they have different functions. And here on page 70, you'll find the different functions are mentioned there. Mano, first of all, Vijnana is the most common one. Vijnana, yeah, we say it's mind. If you like, it's the mind behind our actions. Vijnana usually translates as consciousness. It is the function of our senses, our 6 senses. What we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, think. That's our consciousness, the mind behind the action. This is a daily thing. In a sense, this experience is neither good nor bad, it's neutral. It's how the mind deals with it, whether it is rooted in greed, hate, delusion or not. If it is, then it is unwholesome. If the action is rooted in greed, it's unwholesome. Rooted in hatred, it is unwholesome. Rooted in delusion, it is unwholesome. Mano here is the 3rd door of action. You got body, speech and mind. Mano is the mind here. Okay? So it's a bit of technicality here. And mano is also used as the 6th sense. Mano, mind. Okay? So when we talk about the mind, in English, this is the word. Then you come citta. In Buddhist psychology, citta, which also means mind, by the way, here refers to the center of our personal experience, the subject of thought, volition or our will, and emotion. So this is what we need to understand, to train, to liberate. This is the habitual mind, if you like. This is where the karma is. And this is, the citta is what needs to be understood, trained, and liberated. That is why we say citta bhavana, mental cultivation. We say citta bhaveti, cittang bhaveti, cultivate the mind. Okay? So this is, the word mind here is citta. This is the part where this is what we train. So notice here, in other words, in early Buddhism, there are 3 different words for the mind, but in English you only have 1 word. Mind, that's all. Right? So here, in a sense, you've got the inner, outer. The inner is that which knows, and outer that which is known, right? So it's like the mind objects. And this also is good to know. So you have internal senses, 6 internal senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. And you got 6 external senses, or 6 external sense bases. Form, sound, smell, taste, touch, thoughts. 6 internal, 6 external.
Could you repeat that again? The 6 internal are your...
Eye,
Yeah, okay.
ear,
Right.
nose,
Right.
tongue, body,
And-
mind. Okay?
Right.
And then the 6 external senses.
Visual objects.
Right. And these are called the 12 sense bases as a set. And then you have the 18 elements. That means you add 6 more. The 6 consciousnesses. And what are the 6 consciousnesses? Very easy, right? Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness. Okay? Here, consciousness refers to attention actually. Okay? So when these three are present, then you have the experience of that sense. For example, you got eye, internal sense faculty, then you got form or external sense eye object, okay? And then you got eye consciousness. There's a triangle of experience, these three. And the result is contact or impression. That is called eye contact. Do you know the word contact? Phassa actually refers to sense impression, or what in science we say stimulus, sense stimulus, eye stimulus, if you like, visual stimulus, right? And then from there comes feeling, whether you like it, you don't like it, or neutral to it. And then craving, clinging, suffering, there you are. That's how the cycle goes. You get 12 links from there. So, the mind is what we need to train.
What you just said, is that covered on page 41? Is that what it is?
It's on page 17. I'm talking from page 17. Yeah, 70. Under Citta Nupassana, 5C, section 5C, point 1.
Your internal and external senses
Yes,
you're talking about.
that's right. Okay, on that
Because you
page.
have one on page 41.
Yeah, there are different places explaining different things. Okay. So when we are meditating, and in an important way in our daily lives also, to be mindful means we keep a lookout on the mind. Is this mind filled with greed, hate, delusion? If it is, I better let it go. Let go of that mind. And cultivate the opposite of it, in other words. For example, when you want to say study, and your mind's thinking about other things, then you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to let go of these distractions. So you just direct your mind onto what you need to do. So that's how you train your mind in a very simple way. So when you go deeper into meditation, you begin to see the mind for what it is. Now we are on the third level of Satipatthana, if you like. The mind has become focused. Then what happens? The mind seems to light up. The mind becomes bright, radiant. Now you know why sometimes the teacher will say, this guy is bright, or this boy or this girl is very bright. I mean, why did they say bright? Why did they say dark? Right? Because brightness has to do with wisdom. Right? Now the mind doesn't actually become bright. The mind is always bright in a sense, but it's hidden by external defilements. What are these external defilements? They come through seeing, smelling, tasting, and so on. In other words, you're so involved with external senses and reactions and so on, and thoughts, that our mind is cluttered up by all these ideas. So we're not really freeing the mind up. You notice you're going to do something really creative, you have to solve a problem, you need quiet and calm. And if you're in a quiet, beautiful place, it's fantastic. You know what's my ideal place for doing my work? It is like a kind of a beautiful, spacious room with my books all there and my working stuff there. And I open up my window, I can see these mountains and valleys far ahead. It's really beautiful. Well, you don't need that because I have that right on my computer anyway. This beautiful mountain cliff, right? So this is where you kind of prepare yourself mentally by calming your minds down, letting go of the world, so to speak, of the five physical senses. You direct all to your mind, and then the mind becomes bright and joyful, but clearing away all the clouds of the senses. When the mind is fully bright, then you have attained jhana. In jhana, the mind is totally bright, and you just feel joyful. So that is why when someone is very joyful, you see the person's face radiant, happy, bright. So this is the way the ancient Buddhist texts describe the happy mind. Okay? And that's called the Mahagata mind. Mind become great. Or the mind is unsurpassable. You don't need to go beyond that mind because you're very happy, at peace with yourself. So that completes this section on the mind. Okay, so in the next round is already a new year. We'll be doing the last section, which might take 2 or 3 lessons because there's so many important topics there. But I'll do it in a relational way to connect the ideas together rather than going into details of each, which we'll do another time. Okay, any questions here? Leave the rest of the session today for questions.
How do you bring your mind back? Let's say you're out there, all sorts of things.
Yeah, your mind will come back by itself because it's just like waking up, It's just like they say like a chicken coming back to roost. Okay, it's natural. The mind will come back because when the senses starts working again, your mind must be there. It's like waking up. You see, how do you wake up? The senses reactivate themselves, and you say, why does that happen? There is the bhavanga, there is this life continuum there. So when you are asleep, the conscious mind shuts down, but the life continuum, the bhavanga, takes over. This bhavanga is a kind of, you might say, a very simple form of consciousness. Right? It's when this consciousness goes elsewhere, is reborn elsewhere, then the person dies. The mind cannot support this consciousness anymore. Right? But in a normal person, like you and I, once we finish this, the jhana is gone, then the senses reactivate themselves, then we come back. So the mind has to come back. Because without the mind, you can't see. Without the mind, you can hear, smell, taste, or touch. Here, mind, of course, I'm talking about the consciousness behind the mind, behind the senses. Any other question? So all these theories are telling us what happens in meditation, or what can possibly happen in meditation. So like I said, it's not just something to study by itself. It is a kind of like, you're reading like a travel guide, or more than a travel guide, a book that describes to you all these mountains and valleys and places. Now you find people going for their holidays. My friends are going to Taiwan, Thailand, some of them going skiing in the French Alps, and I'm surprised. I got some of these friends of mine. They really have fantastic hobbies. Some of them they love driving racing cars, and going skiing. And I asked them, how do you keep your mind focused? You don't crash into trees. And so this is where it's a wonderful time for us to go back to nature. And whenever you're on holiday, you go to beautiful places, don't just take photographs, or worse, don't just read newspapers there. You might as well come back to Singapore and do that. Just be present in those places. Feel the beauty and the freshness of that place. And once you feel quite familiar, some level of familiarity, then get into your meditation. Beautiful places have some kind of very wonderful energy there. And use that energy to help you meditate. You just try this one day. You go to a waterfall and just go near the waterfall. You can feel a certain wonderful feeling here. Of course, the disciple will tell you all these ions and all these things. There are many ways of explaining it. It doesn't matter how you explain it. Important when you go there, you feel good, right? And then you just sit quietly nearby. Although you can hear the water splashing, it doesn't disturb your mind. You can still meditate. So there are many beautiful places for meditation. Yes.
Regarding which mind internally and externally influences mind and others.
Yeah, you can't, of course, if you can read other people's mind here, you do that directly. But generally speaking, by looking at the person, you can sense, you can look at the face, the actions, body language, you can know more or less the mental state of the person. This is one way. This one is not telling you you must do it. It's just saying, let's say you are on a retreat, and this person next to you is very unhappy. So you look at the person, you can, this person may be unhappy about something, maybe just got some bad news somewhere. So you don't want that to disturb you. So you use Satipatthana, you use the external object. You say, okay, this person is unhappy, having this kind of mind. That's all. You note it like that. You don't evaluate it, you don't make it more than that. So you are focused, that's the idea. You don't want to make it more than that. This is not about knowing in a discursive way, not knowing and then thinking about it. No, you just want to know it, let it go. Know it, let it go. No distraction. That's the thing. Correct. Okay. Of course, in a sense, you might say everything is internal. Yeah. Even when you evaluate, this. Yeah, you do it yourself. So in a sense, it's internal. But to explain it, the sutta uses this kind of language easier for us to understand. Otherwise, it becomes very Zen-like, where everything's internal and nothing to talk about. It's very difficult to understand. Okay, so we don't want to use clever language here, or tricky language, or mystical language. Actually, the language is, in a sense, mystical. But here, the language is clear, and you know what the sutta is talking about. Okay. In that sense, it's technical.
To observe feelings externally in others to others, to observe feelings externally, in other words, in others,
Yes.
one has to cultivate compassion first. That's kind of hard.
Yeah, definitely, yes. Loving kindness, compassion, yeah. That's another way. So different ways of responding.
Otherwise, one is just focused on
Yeah.
oneself.
Now, if you're really quite focused in your retreat, you can notice all this, so you just watch it, let it go. Also can. But in daily life, like here, yeah, loving kindness definitely helps, compassion helps.
That's why you were saying the mind automatically will come back.
Yeah.
Because of what was the life continuum?
Yes, bhavanga. Your life continuum. That is your consciousness that is always there when the conscious mind is not there. Okay? In other words, when you are asleep, this life continuum takes over. So there is your life now. There is always this very rudimentary consciousness, very simple consciousness still going on through your life. That's why it's called continuum, continuous. It doesn't break your consciousness. In a sense, even when someone is unconscious, they got knocked out, the life continuum is still there, but he's not conscious. So this is not the normal consciousness, right? This is something like a rebirth consciousness, if you like. Is that the question?
I understand that this thing tells you that meditation, you can get all these feelings, pleasant and so on, in meditation. On a practical daily basis, let's say you're riding on an LRT train, and of course you're not meditating, you're just standing around, maybe even reading your newspapers or whatever. And then you see this guy sitting in a reserved seat, pretending to sleep.
Okay.
And there are one or two senior citizens standing in. Of course, you look at it and you're conscious that this guy is very rude or has no consideration for others. But you cannot just say, I'm conscious of it and I just let it go. I do nothing about it because that doesn't seem to me to be right.
Yeah.
So in such cases, you are conscious of something. It could be pleasant, it could be very unpleasant. And then sometimes you want to do something about it. So I think it may be necessary when you recognize something.
Yes, of course, you should.
Yeah.
You do what needs to be done. Definitely. We're not talking about, we should not do more than this. This is a very context-specific piece of meditation. There are also teachings which talk about social aspects. Yeah, of course, you got to try to do something. Here, what if you can't do this? Let's say you're caught in a crowded situation and you can't do anything. So, at least keep your mind peaceful. Yeah. Yes, that's right. And sometimes I get myself in all situations myself. There was once I was standing and then this person got tired. I was going to take the seat. And the other ladies put their hand out and said, wait, you don't sit. Let the pregnant lady sit. So I didn't see the pregnant lady. So I thought myself, oh dear, I should have seen myself. I was quite embarrassed actually. So this is where you can also feel that feeling. So just take it like that. You don't have to get upset about it. For example, the mind will tell you, oh, who's this lady to tell me do this, do that? I could have decided for myself, So just note that, okay, let it go. You don't have to get angry. You don't have to talk back, anything like that. So in a sense, this kind of training is very helpful for a crowded city. So if people kind of understand that, they do not look at the situation more than what it is, and then people will be more comfortable with each other. It's just as if everybody are friends, close friends to each other. Then you don't have to evaluate every word, every action. You take it with some kind of a bit of salt, a grain of salt, if you like, or just take it in a friendly way.
On the flip side, I will have an example. If you see a young man giving up a seat to a pregnant lady or senior citizen, you notice and you feel very
Yes, yeah.
and then you say, that's a good example.
Yep. Last week's a happy week for me. I see a lot of that going on. I hope I see more of it.
What?
The last few weeks I've been seeing a lot of people getting up, and for older people, for pregnant ladies. For some strange reason, they seem to be doing more in this period. Or maybe I've been going a bit more because I've been going to my checkups, the eye checkup, So the doctor says, oh, your eye is fine, 6/6. And I said, but still blur. I said, I can't see, but it's just very clear. But as far as medicine goes anyway. The important thing is the glaucoma is not getting worse, so that's the important thing. Well, today is our last session for the year. It's really wonderful, to have you all here. And tomorrow we are going to Malaysia for our annual holiday and meeting family members in Malaysia. Anyway, we have prepared all the reflections right up to next year. So we will go on quickly as before. Any other questions before we close?
How
Yes?
come you say, not you, how come it says in the footnote, mental hindrances can only be properly noted only after one has abandoned them?
Oh.
I can still note, oh, I got the will with me. Oh, I'm sleepy and lazy.
What number is that?
Page 135, footnote 76. I know all these things because I'm not abandoning them. 76.
Yes. Not 77, is it?
76.
No, page 76.
No, page 135.
135, not 76.
Yeah.
Okay.
I note them all the time, but I don't remember them.
There is an operational word there, properly.
I thought you say that.
We have to defend
I
ourselves.
thought you would say that.
You can still note them while you're having them, but they're still affecting on you see. But once they overcome, you look back, then by review, then you're more clearly, with wisdom, you know what it is. Because once you acknowledge it and you know it and it ends, yes, then it has worked. But if you note it is still there, that means it's not working, I mean, you are noting it, you got to wait until, wait for it to finish, and then only you can say it has been properly noted. It's just a technicality actually, because if you really note properly, it should, by right, it should end at worst. That's why the word properly is there. Okay? Because some people can note it, okay, I'm angry, but I still go on being angry. But it's not very helpful, right? So if I say I'm angry, then probably I should end it also. That's the meaning. Okay?
For Chinese New Year, is there something in the Sutta that you can talk about?
Something happy, because the Buddha didn't celebrate Chinese New Year, so we got to look for something happy.
In case there's something that
Chinese New Year is about 1 month's time. Huh?
Sometimes the anger cannot move on.
Why not? Are you angry now? No, you're not angry now. Anger gone already. Now it appears to linger. It just appears to linger. It appears to linger because you are feeding it. It is called ahara, food. You are feeding it with something, with other thoughts. You start thinking other things. Oh, this person did this, and oh yeah, he did that, and then that's a long list of things, one after the other. So that's called feeding the anger. So that's where you got to let go of those things. They're in the past. Any other question? You can ask general meditation question also, if you like. So, no more questions, huh? Okay, so then we end here on this very auspicious occasion. Let us spend a short time doing
Oh,
our...
sorry.
Yeah?
One last question.
One last question. Okay, reverse, yeah.
There was one part on personality, page 54.
54. Okay.
It's not character, I mean, it's not
Okay, yes, that's right.
personality
It's very
types.
interesting, yes.
So if I were one who like a lot of material comfort or pleasures of the senses. So in other words, I belong to the body and feeling, craving category.
Possible, yeah.
Then I should meditate on the first and second foundations more. But whereas if I'm not so much that I'm of the more intellectual bent or too much mental intellectual bent, then I should be meditating more on the third and fourth foundations.
Okay.
Is that what it means here?
More or less, yeah. I say more or less because, remember, do not take this as stereotypes.
No.
Because in a single person, it may change at different times. In other words, it is incidental, Deal with it when it arises. For example, this certain period, you could be like this. Another time in your life, another kind of scenario will take over. So here, in other words, if you notice it to be like that, okay, this is what you do, right? So there are 4 kinds of meditation on foulness, on dukkha, impermanence, non-self. This is Analayo's notes, so these are some very interesting points. These are especially useful when you do counseling and therapy, to help people deal with their emotions. So this helps to know these things. Of course, you can also try on yourselves. Yeah, these ideas are all also to inspire future scholars, therapists, people who study psychology, to research further and maybe find some Buddhist teachings that will help them. Okay? No more questions, huh? Alright, let us spend a short time reflecting now. Now we have come to another year end, although we have not finished with this book. This book will link us to a new year. It's a new year of the horse, which reflects on energy and effort. The Buddha often talks about different kinds of horses to show the mind, the nature of the mind, how our minds can become wild like the horse, how to calm it down. The suttas tell us all in many, many different ways how to understand the mind and to tame the mind so that the mind brings us joy and peace, truth and beauty. Reflecting in this way, we create a lot of good mental karma. By the power of this karma, may in this life itself we attain mental peace and joy in every way. By the power of all the good deeds we have done, our faith in the 3 jewels, keeping the precepts, practicing of charity and many other good deeds, may we attain spiritual liberation, especially stream winning in this life itself. In this moment of peace, let us send our loving kindness to everyone here, especially those working hard to run this place, those who have dedicated their resources and energies to this place, to all the beings inhabiting this place. May they all be well and happy. And to our loved ones too, wherever they are, may they be well and happy. And to those whom the Dharma is not touched, that they may see the Dharma and be well and happy too. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.